Hey, I'm OSsie from Three Monkey Solderless, home of the best cables for all kinds, solderless, for all kinds of applications around the home and studio and automobile now, right? So we got the 2.1 millimeter DC connector. We have our standard 1/4 inch fair, right? And of course, I had to tell you, we got the RCAs now. Right? How good are those gold-plated little jammies going on? Anyway, so check us out at 3monkeysolderless.com. Easiest stuff in the world to put together. Great cable. Got some new types of cable, all kinds of good stuff. So check us out there. All right, so back on the chase. Right, so we've got the E-Box or the Ed Box. It's still set up. It has not moved since the last we heard it. And we have our aux box. Has not moved. Everything's basically the same. And we got some good comments. A lot of people think it's pretty close to being done. That's pretty cool. Got another comment from an old friend that I've known for quite a while. It was like, maybe some more top end. I was like, I should have known that was coming. So anyway, let's see how we're going to do that, right? Because I think the best way to sort of accomplish that kind of top end is in the studio, right? It's really important to keep drilling into this, or to drilling into the psyche of the EdHead, right? The psyche of the EdHead, that a Marshall cabinet does not have the top end. It does not have the bandwidth that we're hearing on Van Halen 1. It simply doesn't. This is coming from an accentuation as well as artifacts that are created by studio gear, which are then accentuated further with more studio gear. So when we talk about putting together something for experimental purposes or to achieve the tones of that first album, like this is basically doing, in combination with the aux box, if you were to run this into a power amp, right, and into basket weave cabinets, which are great sounding cabinets, it's not going to sound the same as if it's going through the aux box in studio gear. It just simply can't do that. Now, if you were to mic that and then put it through the system, yes, you can get there again. But in terms of getting it in a live situation where you can play along with it, right, live in a room and have fun, this is really the only situation. Impulse responses and then monitors. I can't stress that enough. There is simply no possibility of recreating a really accurate first album tone without using a full range audio system. It's just not going to happen. I mean, if you were to take even the album, right? Take your vinyl of Van Halen 1, crank it, put it on the turntable, put the needle down on it, and then hook up Marshall 412s to your stereo and see what it sounds like. It does not sound right. It just doesn't. They just don't have, that top end. And that's why we have things in, three-way speaker cabinets for home stereos like mid-ranges and tweeters. Because those are to take the, amplify or to make audible the frequencies that a woofer, which is all that you find in these Marshall cabinets, has available, right? There's nothing else in a woofer in a Marshall 412 than a woofer. And the frequency range takes a nosedive, right? Somewhere like 3K, give or take, depending upon the actual speaker. But it takes a nosedive. And the album goes up well beyond into dog hearing. I mean, it goes up there. So you're going to be looking at, 16K, 10K, 12K, all things that cabinet has no use for. All right, so let's begin again. We have our guitar still with the 1800 Mighty Mite vintage trim hard ash going into the system. So we'll just do a quick refresher. This is where we left off, right? We're not changing anything. We haven't changed anything. So we're going to start with the bass line and move from there. So this is where we're at sort of now. Okay, so let's go into the studio, into the GarageBand app, and we'll start messing around with some of the gear, and we'll try to get some of that air and top end in there. So I'll see you in the studio in 2 seconds. All right, so here we are in GarageBand. Once again, I'll just give you a quick once over of what we've got going on, right? We have basically 3 channels we're listening to. My voice is on this one, mic input. Then we have the 2 left and right channels coming out of the aux box, a signal with more dry and less reverb, and a signal with mostly reverb and very little dry, right? And we have everything on right now so we can hear it all. Right? Okay. And we're going back into showing that we have this API on again. The API 550 EQ with a 2 dB bump at 10 kilohertz, a 6 dB cut at 400 hertz, and a 2 dB bump at 200 hertz. All right, so that's all fine. I think what we want to get is more top end, right, is what we're looking for, but we don't want to necessarily do it, I think, on the master affecting both channels. We want it just on the dry, more dry channel, right? Because the reverb sound on the album was fairly dark sounding in comparison to the live, right? Sort of live room sound. So I'm going to cut off the reverb so we don't hear it as much. And you'll hear mostly dry here, but again, there still is some verbiage, as I think they shot the EMTs and plates straight down the middle. So here we are with just the mostly dry. And I think just for the purposes of this particular tuning, well, let's move it dead center. Let's pan this signal more in the center so we can hear it better with both ears. And then we can pan it back to left when we turn the reverb on. But here we are dead center. All right, let's now go and turn on the Pultec. All right, this is obviously one of my favorite pieces of gear, I guess, ever created. And we know that these were definitely in Sunset Sound. And then, you know, later when Eddie was trying to make 5150, I think him and Landy, well, Landy probably built it, wanted to use gear, I think, that was familiar to him and that he had use for and knew how to use, right? So he brought in, they weren't Pultecs, they were made by a company called Lang, but they were Pultec clones. So they brought in 1176 compressors, they brought in the Pultec EQs, and they brought in LA2A compressor limiters, right? And those are, among other things, the best, you know, stuff that I guess, you know, Landy really liked to use. And we're probably going to do a little trick right now and test out a sort of a theory I have about what Landy might have been doing. Okay, so we're going to start off by, I think, recording a basic track, all right, of something that we could just keep modifying on a loop, all right? And I'm going to show you something that might be interesting, all right? So let's start off first. We'll move out of the Pultec real quick, and we'll just do a quick recording of this channel only. So we're going to turn off this and turn off my voice. Wouldn't you know it, I screwed that all up. I had the loop on. And I clammed that crap up anyway. So let's do it again. Let's do it again. Sorry for all this. Okay, so there's our basic track that we can go and do a little messing around with. All right, so what we're going to do first is we're going to duplicate this track. New track with duplicate settings, okay? And then we're going to copy this. And we're going to paste it. There's probably easier ways of doing this, but this is the way I do it. Why is it not letting me paste this? Edit, copy. Edit, paste. Okay. I probably didn't copy it. All right. So we have this signal. We're going to mute, or rather this track on our, and we're going to basically put this in a loop form so we can keep listening to it over and over and over again until you want to murder yourself. And what we're going to do is a trick using the LA2A as well as the Pultec EQs. All right, and this is something that I think was used on vocal tracks a lot during the 1970s. All right, and I'm pretty sure that this was probably how they got those really crystalline, silky voices on all those Doobie Brothers albums. And to me, Eddie's guitar, the way it was recorded, sounds like a Doobie Brothers sort of vocal track. All right, so well, we're going to start off first with going to our LA2A. We're going to go all high frequency. Okay, so we're going to just compress the high frequency, right? And we're going to go into... prior to that, we're going to need to put in the Pultec. Okay. So we go here, right to the Pultec. Sorry. And what we're going to do is we're going to boost, cut low frequencies. So let's start listening. Bringing up the bandwidth a little bit. Bring this up a little bit, high end. Okay. So what we're doing first is we're basically cutting a lot of low end out of this track and boosting a lot of high end, okay, with the Pultec. So we've attenuated up to 7 at 100 hertz, and we've gone to 16K, right, which is way above a Celestion, and we've boosted a little bit right there at 6 and a little bit of attenuation at 20. Okay, so the next step would be to smash this track with the LA2A. Right, so let me move this out of the way. We're going to rewind our track, and we're going to start with the gain down so we don't blow our heads off here, and the peak reduction. Now, as again I said, it's set to just compress the high frequency, so it's similar maybe in a sense to like a multi-band compressor, right? Except this is now a more high band compressor. So let's start playing and let's bring it in. All right, I'm going to bring up a little bit more volume. Okay. Okay, so let's try that, right? Rewind it all the way. And then we can add this. Now the next thing we would need to do is to add this second Pultec to go back in and boost highs again. Okay, so let's bring down that. So we're still cutting low end, and we're going to bring this up, let's say, to like 12K this time, and bring these flat, and then we can add them in as we want. All right, so let's turn it on, and then we're going to listen to it as we now bring back some of the top ends that we smushed down with the LA2A, right? So we brought up a lot of top ends, smushed it, and then we're going to bring it back up again. So here we go. Just trying some different... All right, let's, I liked it at 16 again. Let's hear it one more time. Okay, I think that'll be all right. And this is kind of, you know, doing it rough and ready. It's not like we're spending a lot of time here really dialing it in perfectly. And you can build the track with several of these as you start compressing different frequencies, right? But we can add this track in now with this track, right? So this will be our main track, and then this will sort of add some of that super sizzle. So let's unmute this track, and then let's listen to it. Bring down the levels a bit. Okay, bring it all back, and then we can add in the reverb, right? The reverberated track, which has a little bit of darkness to it, right? So let's listen to this now. We're going to take this track, right? And we're going to copy it again, and we're going to paste it into this track. Actually, you know what's interesting is that we're not going to have the deep reverb. So we're going to add some reverb onto this with our sunset sound, right? So let's mute these once more. Okay. And then we're going to add in, we might want to do 2 channels, all right? One with plate and then one with chamber. So for me, I like to listen to these, and it's going to be mostly wet, right? So let's listen to the chambers one more time, and we'll pick one. Okay, let's listen to this one. I think okay, I kind of like that one. And now we're going to add even more reverb. So we're going to take this, edit, and we're going to make another track again. And we're going to paste in the same track, right? So now we got 4 tracks. And on this one, we're going to put in a plate. Okay? I know I'm doing this all goofy, but please bear with me. Okay, so we're going to go with a plate, right? So I like this one, I think, but let's go ahead and listen to it. More. Let's take out some lows. Take out some of the boom. Alright, now let's add in the chamber. Maybe a little less of the chamber in the mix. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to add in the other two tracks. So now we have 4 tracks, right? We have the dry, sort of bassier track. We might actually have to tweak this a little bit with some low end. We have the high crunchy sort of additional, sort of accentuating track. And then we have 2 tracks of reverb, one of which is the chamber and the other one is EMT plate. So let's get a quick listen to what this sounds like, and then we can start dialing in some of the levels a little bit. Okay, I'm kind of digging it. I mean, obviously, if we had, if we could spend like hours and hours, because I heard like Landy in that Sunset Sound thing where they were interviewing different people. There was some talk about Landy spending a weekend basically holed up in the studio doing the mastering, which must have been a trip to see how he was mastering these tracks. It must have been killer. But anyway, let's go to this dry track again. And I want to add some more punch to it, I think. Right? It needs some more punch, some Hawaiian punch. So I think I want to put in some LA2A and just fucking, excuse me, God, I don't believe I said that here. And just really make it pop. Right? So let's bring in the LA2A. All right, we're going to bring the gain down again so we don't blow our ears up right away. And we're going to listen to it, and we're going to dial this track in until the, that front end of the note, the really kind of like smacks you, like bang, with a really kind of quick attack, a really quick attack. All right, so let's start messing with it. All right, let's hear this. All right, I think that's pretty much smashing you in the face. It's smashing you. All right. Now we might have to lower the total master volume of this setup going into everything else, or we might just have a lot of distortion. So let's just start listening to everything at once and see what we sort of ended up with. Okay. Let's rewind the tape and let's play it. Yeah, I kind of dig that. That's not too bad. It's kind of cool. So you can sort of see like where we're going with all this thing, right? That we need really all these effects to sort of get to where they were. I mean, a studio sound is the result of studio equipment, right? So I'm trying to get it to a way where I can play this sound as, live, right? Now we can't do this trick, right, where we're adding in all kinds of things, but maybe we can, right? Like for instance, every one of these tracks, you can live monitor now, right? And you will have the ability to have that sound and be able to play live. Let's see if we could turn them all on. I don't think I can with this. Yeah, I can only do 3, I think. I need to get more inputs. But this is something that right now, I mean, I'm listening to it through the headphones, but this can be connected to monitors, right? You could put this through the front of house. You could put this through wherever you want, and you can play along with it. You could play it with a band, this sound, right? There's no question about being able to do that. I mean, it's for just goofing around with it in a couple of seconds. It's a pretty cool sound. I mean, I can hear we have a little bit of phasing issue, that there's a little bit of, some of the tracks are not perfectly lined up, and we could use some equipment to get these tracks perfectly lined up. But some of the phasing gives it, a really cool kind of sound. Clamage. Anyway. Okay. So let's just save this as something that we can sort of get back to. Video setup, e-box. Let's say, let's call this number 2. This is going to be called like video e-box number 2. So we can come back to it. But yeah, tell me if you think this is sort of getting closer to what you were thinking of. You know what we should do too is we should pan the dry. We forgot to do that. Right? So we got the reverb on one side and the pan guitar on the other. Let's listen to this. see if we can take this one, pan it a little bit more, like there. Bring this one a little bit more center. You know what I want to just try one last time? This video's going on forever. Let's go to the Pultec on this, and let's put some low end into it. All right, so I'm gonna just get rid of these guys, the top end kind of stuff, and we're going to go. Let's try it at 100 hertz. We take out the attenuation and the boost, and we'll start here. Maybe not quite that much. Let's listen to all the tracks one more time like this. Everything's on, right? So let's just listen to it one more time the way we have it set up like this. I think I like that a little better. So let's save those changes we made really quickly. And then let's leave it here. I think we've done way too much for one sitting. So give me some ideas about where we're at, and we'll continue on from here building, right? And we're going to figure this out. All right, so let's go back to the submarine studio and see what's going on. Okay, so we're back in the submarine studio. And as you can see, there's, the secret to this sound is not going to come from just that. It's just not going to happen, right? So I'm trying to come up with a way that people can really get that first album sound in something of a practical way, right? That you can actually have fun with it, play it, not just record it, not have to do, a huge amount of stuff in order to get there. And I'm finding that, you don't necessarily need to have the amplifiers and speakers. You can do it pretty close with something like this, right? Something like this setup. And if you look at cost effectiveness, if you were to go and buy a Marshall Plexi and a basket weave, you're way beyond what any of this stuff would cost. You could buy yourself a Macintosh computer, monitors, aux box, e-box, and you'd still have tons of money to spare. So, I still think the amplifiers have a place. There are certain things that you can't replicate. I mean, the feedback, that sort of thing, the being in a live room. But you're never going to hear it, the finished product, until, you're hitting the playback. You're not going to be able to load up a drum track and have fun playing along with the drum tracks, and hear that sound that you want to hear coming out of your guitar. And you could do it at a very quiet volume too. So anyway, this is sort of like the mission I'm on. So, yeah, I could show people like what this would sound like through a power amp and, speaker cabinets, but I'm designing this really to work with this, right? And there are anomalies. There are things about each piece of equipment that, you can take advantage of or you have to compensate for. So when you're working on something specifically to work with something else, you can really dial it in. If you were to put this through, a rack, it may sound, like a power amp, it may sound great, but I'm not, tweaking it to deal with that particular situation. It's really meant to go with this. So anyway, I think that's enough for today. So thanks again for watching, and give me some comments, like I said, down below. Don't forget to check out the plugs, and we're going to continue going on with this and see what we come up with. All right, so thanks. We'll see you later.